Welcome to What Your Money Would Say. Today, my friend Andrew McNair, who is founder and CEO at Swan Capital, he's going to be telling us about how so many Americans are confused about the realities of probate and inheritance and ways that you can be prepared to leave that legacy that you want. I want to start off by giving you this phone number so you'll have it handy throughout our show, 800-848-8768. That is the number to call for a complimentary visit. We call it a discovery visit. And in that visit, Andrew and his team will take you through that Swan sleep study. You're going to hear all about that today. This is a complimentary visit. I want to remind you, so you can text the word SWAN. We want to give you that availability, 800-848-8768. If you would like to get that complimentary appointment. Remember, you can find us online anytime at swan-capital.com. And I'm Luann Fulmer here with Andrew McNair. Andrew, so happy to have you here today.
I'm so happy to be here with you today because we're talking about a topic we speak to clients about every day.
Okay, so, so many people don't understand it, right? So we're going to specifically look at probate today. Tell us, do most Americans even understand what goes into that process? Probably not.
Yeah, there's a huge gap. This was taken from the state of probate in America from a study. More than half of Americans have literally no idea what probate costs. Less than half understand that inheritance is not an automatic process, that once you pass away, it just automatically goes to who you want it to. And only 2% of respondents in this study knew how long it took to settle an estate. So here in Escambia County and Baldwin County, the average time is about 11 to 16 months. And it's no different in the other surrounding counties either. And right now, the reasonable fees in Florida and Alabama are generally 3%. So if you have a $500,000 second home in Gulf Shores, let's say, and let's say that home's owned jointly, that jointly owned home, it's paid for. You only have one child. That one child may think, and you may think the same thing, that it's automatically going to go to them without any probate, without taking 11 to 16 months. But sadly, when the last spouse passes away, that's where probate, a court of law, has to enter into the situation to make sure that they are your only child and that they receive that. And so 3% on $500,000 could be a $15,000 expense on an asset that you thought would automatically go to that only child. So this is a big wake-up call for a lot of families.
So if there is not a plan in place to handle that inheritance correctly, tell us about the sorts of issues that you've seen families run into.
Well, I think a big misconception is people think they've already taken care of it. In 1994, Andrew, we got a will done, and it's got about an inch of dust, but we have a will. And so what people don't realize is a will does not exempt you from probate. A will is something that you read in probate. It's what the judge reads. I mean, if you die without a will in the state of Florida, Alabama, they have a one-size-fits-all will for everyone that dies without one, and you might not like where your assets go. And this is why a will, even though it has its limitations, is still very important to have, because if you die without one, the state could decide. Well, when that will is read out in court, it's your last will and testament. Your will becomes effective the day you die, not the day you sign it. And that's where a lot of, sadly, probate can get extended, because people contest these wills that are signed at the last minute when their mother signed it on their deathbed under duress with dementia. And we've seen probate take as long as 4 years. So you throw a COVID into it, Luann. Yeah. You throw a family that's debating back and forth what to do with the family home. And what happens if that family can't get on the same page? That family home could sit empty for 2 years and rot away while you're still paying insurance and taxes, and it's unoccupied. And to me, that's a shame. And this is why estate planning is one of the integral parts of our sleep study and our overall financial planning. So much, in fact, Luann, that we've had an estate planning attorney in our office for the last 10 years, along with a CPA, because we don't want to just hope that our clients are going to take care of their homework, hope that clients will go down the street and meet with Joe Smuckatelli, some estate planning attorney, and hopefully get these documents. No, we want to know for sure that they have the right documents for their situation.
Okay. And you mentioned Scott Malik, the attorney at law. He's the estate planning attorney. You have them there for access. This is one part of your SWAN sleep study. You make sure, that all the assets and the estate plans are taken care of using Scott when you need them. But you also start with, income planning, investments, healthcare, tax strategies, and then, of course, estate planning. All of these things fit into that sleep study. Tell us why our listeners should give you a call today.
Well, I mean, the words free and attorney often don't even go in the same sentence. So, but in this case, it does. If you have legal documents, but they haven't been reviewed in years, maybe they need updates, or you're for sure they need updates. Scott would meet with you along with us doing your sleep study, looking at your investments, your tax planning, your income planning. He'll come down, he'll review the legal documents that you have, and he'll say, hey, actually, these are in good shape. And that's what I love about the integrity of Scott is if you don't need any documents, he's going to tell you that. I've actually had families come into us, into our office because they came to us for a second opinion. They were told in their first opinion that they had to redo all of their legal documents because they moved here from Minnesota or Iowa. And Scott would tell them, no, you don't need to redo these legal documents. They're fine the way they are. And so if you're looking for genuine feedback like that, all you have to do is call us to schedule your sleep study. And that is a complimentary 1-hour visit with Scott and myself. And you can call and schedule that by calling 1-800-848-8768, or you can text SWAN to 1-800-848-8768.
And we thank you so much for joining us. I'm with Andrew McNair, and this is What Your Money Would Say. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So happy to have you along with us as we talk about a lot of things regarding retirement. Right now, we're talking about just probate. So many Americans don't understand the time and the expense of it. So let's get into that, Andrew. What about the costs associated with probate? Tell us more about that, because people aren't aware.
Certainly. What people don't realize is there's probatable assets and there's non-probatable assets. If you have life insurance policies, 401ks, and IRAs that have beneficiary designations, oftentimes the ones that have beneficiary designations, they're not going to go through probate. But sadly, many families haven't went to the 4 credit unions and banks that they deal with, and there's some accounts that don't have any beneficiaries. And I would encourage you today, if you are listening, to go make sure that all of your bank accounts and credit unions, all the accounts there have a primary, a contingent, and a tertiary beneficiary listed. It's one of the highest laws in the land, meaning that if you have one child in 1984, but then you end up having 2 more additional children, and your will says that you have 3 children, well, that one bank account that still has that one child, that's who's going to receive that checking account. So it's very important that you get this right. And so if you have probatable assets to the tune of $1 million estate, 3% is the reasonable attorney's fees, and that could be $30,000. No one plans for bureaucracy, but this is what happens, Luann. When someone passes away, their legacy could take 11 to 16 months, meaning they could be buried in 11 days, but their legacy and estate could take 11 to 16 months to finally be settled. And to me, that's a shame. And that's why a good, efficient estate plan is so important. And that's where we talk with clients about life estates, ladybird deeds, and trusts to own your property to avoid or sidestep probate altogether. And this is why we have an estate planning attorney. This is all he does. He doesn't do DUIs on the weekend. Like, all he does is estate planning.
Andrew, because people are so confused and misinformed about this, do you guys hold events about estate and legacy planning?
That's a great question, Luann. So we have community events throughout the year. We're doing it at the Bayview Center, at the Fairhope Library. We're having events at Grand Marlin. We do these events at restaurants and in community centers to get the word out that it doesn't have to be this way if you're proactive. And again, no one wants to talk about their death and disability. I mean, it's not a Monday to-do list kind of item. But if we can get ahead of it and just share with families that it's actually not as bad as you think it is. We're just going to ask you about your wishes, find out what you want to have, and then make sure that all of your investments have the proper beneficiaries listed, the ones that make sense. Like, some assets belong in a trust while some assets don't belong in a trust. And we're going to help families fund those legal documents correctly. And that's why I believe that this is so important that this is done in synergy. Most people have a financial advisor. They maybe have an attorney. They have a CPA, and these professionals don't even know each other, let alone talk about that client-specific situation. And so when I started interning at a financial firm at 14, I thought there's got to be a better way. Families should not be getting conflicting advice. And sadly, between the cracks, so many items get left undone. Because no one's being held accountable as a quarterback to take care of this. And that's when I said, if this was my place, we would do it differently. Oh. So I encourage you to check your beneficiaries and make sure that you have the documents you need.
Okay, so to listeners who are tuning in, they don't want their loved ones confused, about what's going to happen after they pass. What should they be doing? What could they do now? Probably just start talking about it, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's have a conversation with our spouse. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page of what percentage is going to go to charity, what percentage is going to my niece and nephew. If we have to make end-of-life decisions, who do you want to make those decisions? Well, probably my son that's a nurse. I want them to make the medical decisions. I probably want my daughter who's an accountant making the financial decisions. As long as they have generally all good integrity, I need one who has proximity. Ideally, I want the person that's closest to me if they have integrity. And so it's trying to decide on who makes the most sense in each of these roles. And then we want to make sure that we take good inventory. And this is one thing I encourage you to do at home or have my team do for you, is we build every family what we call our swan binder. And our swan binder has all of your legal documents, your financial documents, as well as your insurance documents and tax documents. Because one of the biggest mistakes I think that happens is we accumulate over a 30-year retirement a lot of stuff, and some good stuff and some are junk, but a lot of people accumulate a financial statements, and they might have an IRA from 1985 that's already moved to a different financial institution, but they're keeping that paperwork around, which when they pass away, they're not there to explain it. So again, families are calling institutions all over the country saying, does my mom have money here? And it can be done in a better way if we build this swan binder that we keep a copy for all of our clients. You keep the original documents in that binder. When you pass away, you're not going to leave a burden to your loved ones because you did the organization and the steps of paper management for them.
All right, we have to take a quick break, but don't go away. 800-848-8768. Still more good information to come from Andrew. We'll be right back with What Your Money Would Say. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with my friend Andrew McNair. He is president and CEO at Swan Capital right here on the Gulf Coast. When you plan for retirement, you need to consider all the risks that your money might face, because think about it. If you don't take steps to help preserve your money from all the risks, then your retirement could be at risk. So let's get into that today, Andrew. We've done this before, but it's always a good reminder. What are some of the biggest potential threats to our retirement income?
Who would have thought that living a long time would be a bad thing? Well, when it comes to retirement income, it can be longevity. Most families that I meet are underestimating how long they're going to live. I don't know why. This is a human condition, but we all think we're going to die sometimes even younger than our parents did, when the statistics show that we're supposed to outlive our parents because of increased medications and technologies that have been invented to help us live longer and healthier lives. So longevity is one. Two is having all your eggs in one basket. A lot of people think that they're diversified, and I'm going to talk to you today about some of the income sources that we utilize for clients to add even more retirement income diversification for them. Three is underestimating taxes. We're in a historically low tax situation right now. Our national debt is at historic monumental levels, and our actual taxes, our income as a country, is at historically low. So that is called an imbalance that eventually will get balanced and resort to the mean. And then it's just simply probably not being prepared, not knowing what your spending plan is, not knowing what your bucket list is, and taking an inventory of your income and making sure that you have a retirement income. It's not enough just having a 401k. It's not enough having a portfolio. You need an income plan for retirement.
So you and I have talked on the air all the time about, the biggest fear of Americans is running out of money. That's what they fear. Will my money last? So why? Talk about why so many people are worried about outliving their savings.
When we're visualizing our income, oftentimes we can visualize we have income on the left hand and we have expenses on the right hand, and we have this big crevice between these two cliffs is your retirement income that you need to bridge the gap. Well, we say, we have investments. That's true. That's kind of like a suspension bridge, and it swings back and forth based on market volatility. And so it's a good reason people are concerned, because they know that their income is going to swing based on the dividends, how the market's doing, how the economy's doing. And this is why we prioritize true diversification of income. When we build our dividend portfolio, for example, Luann, we have preferred share income. We have common share dividend income. We have real estate income. We're going to have bond income. We're going to have CD interest income. We're going to build a dividend portfolio that spits out dividends that are not just reliant upon bonds, but have energy companies, that have utility companies. We also want to have an income plan that takes into consideration things like owner finances, where you actually own the mortgage on someone's house. Again, big fan of private equity and rental income, as well as taking in consideration, does fixed annuity income payments make sense? So all of these different income streams coming together alongside your pension and Social Security are going to make sure that you're not reliant solely upon market volatility. We love the market, but again, when you're relying on market income-based products, you're just relying on what the economy that's outside your control is doing. Again, remember, the market is made up of not only facts, but it's made up of human emotion, and that can change with, sadly, a stock market correction. It can change when a plane flies into a building. Things can change in a moment's notice, and we call those black swan events at Swan Capital.
Yeah, very good. All right, so I want to get into the healthcare thing, because that can eat away at our money as well. According to Fidelity, we bring this up all the time, an average 65-year-old couple can expect to spend more than $300,000, this is after taxes, for healthcare and retirement. Does not include the high cost of long-term care. So how do you help retirees prepare for healthcare, long-term care costs in retirement, so you have a plan so it doesn't eat up all of their money?
Luann, you remind me of a recent visit I just had where both of them were remarrying because they were both widows. And one shared the story, and it was such a sweet story because she knew his previous wife, and his wife fell ill. And while she was passing away, they went through nearly, I think, $300,000 in healthcare expenses.
Oh my.
And they had the money, but it cut his retirement nearly in half. And so I was just heartbroken to think about, here's a man losing his spouse, but also has to think, like, will I be able to make it across the finish line for retirement? And no one should ever have to think about, like, how am I going to provide for my family and make sure that my spouse gets the proper health care that she needs? And so this is something that we can just, put our head in the sand and hope it doesn't happen to us, or we can plan in advance. And so when we build an income plan for a client, we're helping clients decide on major decisions like Social Security. When you decide on Social Security, you're thinking, I want my money and I want it now. I want to get my money because I paid into this. But we also have to consider what that impact of deciding on taking Social Security early does to our spouse that we leave behind. You may be thinking about your survivor benefit. You're about to retire from federal employment or state employment, or you have a pension, and you're thinking, well, I want to get the biggest check I can possible. Well, if you go with that, again, that's nice. That's going to help you in your retirement. But what happens if something happens to you? And so when we build an income plan, I know it's not our favorite part of our plan, but we have to talk about the untimely passing of both spouses. So I have to plan for both spouses living to age 100, but I also have to assume that they could die tomorrow. And so when a family sees these numbers in black and white, it is so liberating. It's actually the opposite of what people think think it is. It's going to be liberating because I can tell you, like I met with a couple just last night. This was my last review. And I told them, I said, you have to have $800,000 if one of you passes away. I said, good thing is you have 1.2 million. You have nothing to worry about. And I think, how cool is that I get to give people the confirmation when they do need to worry about something and they know that they have a goal that they need to work towards. And then I can tell people that they've oversaved or that they are in a good financial situation and they can rest easy.
Okay, there you go. That is called being prepared. And that's what we're talking about here. We're going over the risks in retirement, longevity. We're talking about living a long time and making sure that our money lasts. That's what we've gotten to so far. So, Andrew and his team want to help you keep more of your hard-earned money in your own pockets. Call or text for a complimentary visit. You may call or text the word SWAN to this number. The number is 800-848-8768. Call or text the word SWAN for a complimentary visit, 800-848-8768. And then remember, you can always head to the website because there's some great information there all about Andrew and our awesome team at Swan Capital. It is Swan with a dash, swan-capital.com. And we thank you so much for joining us. This is What Your Money Would Say. And I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Andrew McNair. So here's another one. Inflation. That's going to happen in retirement. We know that. Anytime you go through life, 20, 30 years, you're going to experience that. So tell us how you help people factor in that inflation risk with their money in retirement.
Certainly, we have to understand the impacts of inflation, and everyone's telling you that it's going to be okay because interest rates are higher now and you're making more interest on your CDs and money markets. And I'm going to tell you something completely opposite. It's a mirage. We've been in a long desert of low interest rates, and when we finally see this mirage out there of higher interest rates, that is a canary in the coal mine. The reason why your CDs and your money markets are paying more is because how bad inflation has been. And so, again, no one digs up their grandparent's CD from 100 years ago and says, look, honey, we're rich. They do that when you bring up a gold bar, maybe. They bring that up when you have a real estate deed or a stock from Coca-Cola from 100 years ago. That's when you strike it rich. And there's assets that have outperformed inflation, and there's ones that have treaded water. And so I encourage you to remember that the impact of inflation is subtle, but over time, it is like an avalanche. Again, my grandfather is the prime example. The man retired at 51 years old because of being a very good steward, never made a lot of money in his lifetime, but retired from the Navy, retired at the age of 51. In his 40-year retirement, he potentially saw prices double on many items twice. Because if you use the rule of 72, 72 divided by any number tells you how quickly something doubles. So if you divide 72 by 4% inflation, that means inflation makes prices double every 18 years. So in a 40-year retirement, you could see prices double, which is hard to fathom. So if your money's sitting in CDs and money markets on the sideline and you feel like you're making progress, sadly, I hate to break it to you, you're not.
I love that. Now I understand the rule of 72. 72 times, did you say times any number?
72 divided by a number. Tells you how quickly it would double.
Oh my gosh, how quickly it will double. That's fun. Thank you for that.
It is a fun little number equation.
Yeah, very good. All right, so now I want to move on to another risk in retirement, and that is taxes, okay, that people are worried about. And talk about how important tax planning is for retirees and the lack of it.
Sure. I mean, this is going to affect your retirement income. I mean, you don't spend gross at Publix. You spend net. They only accept net income at Publix. And so this is why we have a CPA in our office, because most families' assets are not tax diversified. There are four major types of taxation. There's taxable, which is like your CD. That means as you earn interest, you're just paying taxes again. You have your qualified money, which is like your 401k. That's money that's trapped. If you take out $1, you got to pay taxes. Then you have capital gains. That's like when you sell a house, you only have to pay taxes on the gains when you sell it. And then there's the last bucket, and that's tax-free. There's only 5 tax-free investments that exist to humanity. So in preparation, we meet with families that are 5 years from retirement or 5 years into retirement. And so when we're helping families, we're saying, hey, are are you max funding those 5 tax-free investments like HSAs? Health savings accounts are triple taxed advantage. You can put up to $8,000 a year and it can grow tax-free. Roth IRAs, Roth 401ks. Luann, people have money in money markets that are taxable that they're not max funding their Roth 401k at work or their part-time job. And I think how sad. And then we look at municipal bonds and life insurance. We want to maximize those tax-free accounts because when we get to retirement, it is a relief. And you have options when you have tax-free dollars as well as tax diversification a part of your retirement plan.
Okay, so again, planning. Now, what about this, though? Are retirees aware of the costs and the fees in their retirement accounts? And then how do you help people get to the bottom of that?
Yeah. The analogy I give is kind of like barcodes. You know how you search all over the place for a barcode?
Yes.
Because, no one works at Walmart anymore, so I have to barcode my own stuff.
I know.
I didn't know that I got a new job, because of technology. So I'm
employed.
barcoding everything.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'll probably unload the truck next week because no one works there. But, you're barcoding this thing, right? And you're looking all over the place. That's how it shouldn't be for your retirement accounts. I've met with savvy individuals. I'll never forget my original Sarah, that I always use Sarah because all my clients' names are Sarah to protect the innocent. So Sarah comes in. She has an $8 million net worth, Luann. She's got 2 financial brokers. She's a savvy lady. I said, do you mind if I ask some questions about this account? She says, yeah, I think I'm paying 1%. They're both financial advisors. I think they both do what you do. And I say, okay, I've heard that before. Do you mind if I call the 1-800 number and ask them some questions? And then she says, go ahead, go right ahead. She's not trained to ask all the questions. So I start asking about the sub-account fees, the mortality expense fees on this account. I start asking about the management fees, the admin fees. Before you know it, Luann, on $2.8 million, just one of her accounts, she was paying over $68,000 in fees on that one account yearly. And she was paying on that account no matter if she made money or lost money. And I thought, how sad. Here's this savvy lady, but no one has told her really what she's paying. And so this is why in the first visit with a family, when we meet with a family, we're telling them what we charge and how we're compensated and how that might look for them. And if you go 3 to 5 years working with a financial professional and you really don't know what you're paying, that I would encourage you to get a second opinion to make sure that you know what you're truly paying.
All right. We are up against a break here, so we've got to take a little pause. I want to give you that phone number, 800-848-8768. Call or text the word SWAN for a complimentary visit with Andrew and our team at Swan Capital. We'll be right back with more on What Your Money Would Say. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer here with Andrew McNair of Swan Capital. And today we're outlining the different risks to your retirement income. And outliving your savings is a huge concern for so many of us. But if you are so worried about outliving your savings, here's the question, Andrew. Can that cause you to underspend in retirement?
Yeah, so many families, when they walk into retirement, they're permanently unemployed. They're kind of shocked that their work ended so abruptly. They didn't even get a golden watch. And so they're tiptoeing into the waters of retirement. And they don't want to spend too much too early because they're worried they're going to run out. And so I try to shake clients and I say, no, we're going to do it completely opposite. We're not going to think about retirement linearly. We're not going to just take out $3,000 a month and hope that that's enough to do your bucket list. I want to front end your retirement, meaning I want you to spend more money in the first 5 to 10 years of your retirement because that's when you have the health, the time, and the freedom to go cross off the items on your bucket list. And so when I can sit down with a family and ask them, tell me what's on your bucket list. Let's go through and build out your spending plan, the base level income that you need. Let's now go through and ask you a tough question. How important is it for you to leave money to your children? Well, Andrew, we already put them through college. We already bought them a car. It's not that important to me. Is that true? Yeah, it's not important to me. Well, then I'm going to hold you to it that we're going to spend this money down, making sure that you don't run out before you run out of life. But we're going to spend some of this money down. Why? Because while you have the health and freedom, life is short at its longest, and we need to spend the money now and cross those items off of our hobbies and our passions and our bucket list items. So, Luann, when we sit down with a family, again, it's a great exercise is building that spending plan, and we hand it to nearly every family in our first visit with a family.
That's so good. I think that would help build some confidence and some clarity. Okay, I'm going to be okay because we have a plan. It is planned out.
Exactly.
And if there's questions or if life-changing things happen, then they can always meet back with you and go on and plan again to plan B, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole point of having a plan, that if we have a retirement income plan, we may work a part-time job. We actually may get an inheritance. These liquidity events and good surprises and bad surprises will happen. And that's why a plan can't be stagnant. It can't just be built and put on a shelf. This is why we're meeting with clients 1 to 4 times a year to adjust this plan and say, actually, because of this unsuspected inheritance, this liquidity event, we actually need to up your spending because you said it was not that important to leave money behind. Or if maybe it is, and we need to start doing our giving while we're living so we know where our giving is going. And let's start putting money in Roth IRAs and 529 plans for our grandkids, which again gives us a permission slip to spend more in retirement because we know that we're giving to our children and grandchildren now, and we're helping them out while we're living. And so anytime we can model this for clients, it gives them the permission slip, I think is the best word. It gives them the confidence to spend more and not say, oh, we can't afford another trip. Oh, we can't afford another family reunion up in the mountains. No, I mean, and again, sadly, I think most spouses kind of use me as a weapon to their other spouse. And they're saying, see, Andrew told us we could spend more.
Okay.
You remember our last review? He said we could spend more. And you know what? And I don't mind taking the flack for that. I don't mind doing that because it is really hard. As someone that's very frugal myself, that doesn't spend a lot of money on myself, I've saved so much for so long, and to just change into a completely different gear, that's like going in fourth gear, now down to reverse, trying to spend my money. I mean, it's grinding gears, and people grind their teeth trying to not spend their money in retirement, and it shouldn't be that way.
Okay, I want to turn now to another concern, another risk in retirement, which is, you said it at the top here of this topic in our last segment, having all your eggs in one basket. Should we be invested differently once we get into retirement?
Yeah, I mean, this is the concept they teach in finance schools across the country. Trust me, I went to one. I went to college just to make my mother happy. You know my story, Luann. From 14 to 18, I was interning at a financial firm. At 18, I started seeing my own clients. But I went to college to make my mother happy. And here's what they told me. You need to build a melting pot for your clients that has some stocks that's like hot water, and you need to have some bonds that's like cold water. And they'll get lukewarm results along the way, but when they get to retirement, you just need to put a spigot into the barrel and hope the money doesn't run out. And I thought, wow, that's such a rudimentary way to approach financial planning, and there's a lot of risk with that approach. But instead, what if we started integrating other retirement assets that would be really great at generating income, such as real estate, such as alternative investments like private equity and hedge funds? Why don't we integrate some more fixed investments like index CDs and MYGAs and indexed annuities and in investments that pay out dividends, such as owner finances, where you own the mortgage on someone's house? Why not have some of these income producing assets like preferred share income, common share income? And so many families say, I've never even been exposed to half of those investments that you've told me about just now. And if that's your situation, if someone has not, even if you're working with a financial professional, has not explained the pros and cons of those various investments that I just listed out, then you have to ask yourself, am I as diversified as I could be?
Yeah, I'm listening to you, and there's a lot of options that I haven't heard about either. I mean, I know you've touched on them, but this is great that you could introduce those to your clients. And the other thing is there's a risk at being too conservative with our savings. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's definitely safe money is not safe. Being conservative doesn't mean you're safe from all risk. You're just safer from market risk. But the big risk that we talked about is inflation. And so when we do our modeling, this is where the science comes into my job, is I can show clients that they have a 92% probability of running out of money before they retire. I can show them that they have a 98% of probability that they'll never run out of money at retirement. And so these are the stats that families want to know. I mean, no one boards a plane and hopes it gets to their destination. And the same with building our maximum spend into our income plans. I think that's a huge permission slip. I have many clients that are spending $2,000 a month, and I show them that their maximum spend is $3,800 a month. And they say, "You're kidding me." They look at each other, the two spouses, they're looking at each other and they say, "You mean that we can spend another $1,800 without having to worry about running out of money?" I say, "Absolutely. I've ran the calculations through these thousands of simulations. You can spend an additional $1,800 a month and not have to worry about running out of money." And they're like, "That's incredible. I mean, that's another additional trip after 3 months of savings." And so this is the kind of income planning that we get to do for clients day in and day out. Now, on the opposite side, it's not all roses, Luann. I've probably made it sound like my job is all roses. Sometimes I have to help people just say that you're a little too early. You want to retire now, but you financially shouldn't. You need to work another 3 to 5 years. And as negative as that sounds, Luann, it actually, you can see the shoulders sink down for many clients, because for the first time, someone says, "Okay, that's the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, if I work another 3 to 5 years, I know I'm going to be good financially. I just needed someone to tell me that."
Yeah, that's so true. And that is why we are offering a chance to have you come in and visit with Andrew and our awesome team at Swan Capital for a Swan Sleep Study. Figure out where you are. They can certainly look at you. And this right here is why we are offering a chance for you to come in and meet with Andrew and our awesome team at Swan Capital. It is complimentary. You can get all of your plans in order together. You can identify your financial goals, your retirement vision, and figure out that path you need to take. They are here for you. Call or text SWAN 800-848-8768, 800-848-8768. And remember the website, swan-capital.com. And you guys can figure out that roller coaster that fits you, right? Andrew, you like to say that.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And that's the whole point of the sleep study. So take us up on it to make sure that your estate planning, your tax planning, and like we've talked about today, your income planning has straight A's going into retirement. It's basically a retirement report card that you want to keep, not the one you want to hide from your parents like you did when you were a child, the one that you want to know and read. So take us up on that. Just call 1-800-848-8768.
And this is What Your Money Would Say with Andrew McNair. I love the name of our show because it can cover so many things, so many topics. And right now we're talking about the risks to your money in retirement. Here's a question for you. What if you're just not interested in investing in the markets in retirement? I guess you did give us some of the other options. Are there anything else you want to mention?
Absolutely. I mean, again, I named our firm Swan Capital, Sleep Well at Night Capital. It's our goal of helping families sleep well at night. And if they are staying up at night, they have the red eyeballs straight off of Looney Tunes on the cartoons, and they can't sleep at night because their money is going up and down with the seesaws of the market. I'm not going to try to push someone into something where they'd be completely uncomfortable. No. Now, sometimes I have to make sure that they get into some part of uncomfortability of just accessing some investments that they say, "Hey, Andrew, I don't want any of my money in the stock market. I hate the stock market." And I'll say, "Okay, well, we need to have a little bit in the stock market because that is going to be our bucket to fight inflation." But we have plenty of other tools in the tool belt that have guaranteed and fixed investment products that allow us to give you those guarantees that you're looking for, but also have some money that's sprinkled in that has differing risks. Every investment has some sort of risk, even the safe investments. So the stock market has market volatility. Real estate has real estate market price fluctuations. You have fixed income that is at the mercy of what interest rates are and what inflation are. So you need someone that's not going to just sell you something, that's going to sell you on the glossy brochure, but instead say, we need to invite investments into an overall plan. A lot of people, they have portfolios, they have statements, they have products, but they don't have a plan. And again, a lot of families, they come to us and they say, Andrew, I just want to buy an annuity. Andrew, I just want to buy a CD. I just want to buy a stock. And I say, there's plenty of people in the yellow book that will sell you an investment and take your money, but that's not what we do here. We charge a fee to build every family a financial plan. And I've had families that say that's just not a good fit for us. But that's the way I believe it needs to be done. And luckily, since I get to make the rules with the company, that's how we do it here.
And very successfully, I might add. A lot of people are benefiting from this. So, all right, we have to take a break. We'll be right back with more from Andrew, more great advice. This is What Your Money Would Say. Stick around. Remember that number. Call or text SWAN to 800-848-8768. A complimentary visit with Andrew and his team at Swan Capital.